Coming up on today's episode of the Moneypants podcast, how Moneypants can solve all your homeschooling woes, the two main roadblocks that discourage parents from homeschooling, how to leverage your limited time, energy, and resources to maximize your results, how the unique opportunities of homeschooling can lead to future successful careers. All this and more, but first, the joke of the day.
A boy comes home to find his parents sitting at the dining room table looking upset. "Son," the father says, "you've been expelled." "But Dad," the boy exclaims, "I'm homeschooled." "That's the point," the dad replies. "Now get out." Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Moneypants podcast. We're your hosts, Hannah and Fontaine Judd, and we're the proud parents of 7 sons and 6 daughters, ranging in age from college student to toddler. We're both BYU graduates and the creators of Moneypants. Head on over to CaptainMoneyPants.com to learn more about what we do and what we're all about. We're on a mission to support families who are trying to raise hardworking kids and to combat the current trend of entitlement. Today's topic: how to adapt Moneypants to make your homeschool or home-based charter school a success. So, I know you have a lot of thoughts about homeschooling, but I think we had a friend who tried doing homeschool.
I've actually had many friends. In fact, I'm part of one of my Facebook groups I belong to is for homeschool moms who belong to my church, our church. And this is an issue that comes up like every other post is about this issue, is about motivating your kids to actually do their schoolwork while you're in homeschool. And so this one friend of mine in particular, she was really excited. She had a kid in junior high and who was getting into a little bit of trouble, and the school was an awful school. And so she decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to homeschool my daughter. And she worked really hard to put together a curriculum. She did a ton of studying, picked out the best programs, got her daughter signed up for the best classes with the best teachers that were available. And she was super excited about it. 3 weeks into it, I talked to her and she's like, I'm sorry, I'm throwing in the towel. I quit. And I'm like, what happened? And she's like, I can't even get my daughter out of her pajamas. She's not doing anything. And I am yelling at her. We're fighting. You've got to get your schoolwork done. This isn't summer vacation.
It lasted 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks. And it was so stressful. And the relationship was breaking down so badly that the mom was just like, I'm sorry, I just have to send her back to school. I can't do this. They were just
3 weeks
knocking heads and butting heads.
Oh, good.
Knocking
heads.
She was tempted to do that, but no.
So, but you're saying that you've experienced that with a lot of people. This isn't an isolated incident. This is a relatively common problem.
It's very common. Seriously, every other post from homeschool moms is, okay, I can't get my kid to do anything. They just want to play computer games. I can't get my kid to get out of bed.
It seems like something we hear a lot.
Yeah.
Not unique. So you bring up a really good point. Like there are two main roadblocks to people who are trying to do either homeschooling or home-based charter school.
Yes, and both of them can be awesome, and both of them can be the best decision you've ever made, right? But the two problems people run into where they get stuck is, first, when they go to design the curriculum, they get overwhelmed because there are so many choices.
Yeah, you can do like a whole arts approach and go that route, or you can do like everything STEM, or you can
and then there's all the stuff within that category to choose
You can do like a sporting approach, and then there's so much that you could possibly give your kids with a curriculum, which is kind of awesome.
Yes,
when it comes to
it is awesome
creating a curriculum, because each kid is unique and different, and you can kind of appeal to their needs and what their skills are, and you can have a lot of fun designing a curriculum, and But that's part of the problem, is it's overwhelming. Whereas traditional public schools, it's kind of like, this is it. You can either do this or you can do honors.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of choices.
And if your kid isn't an honors student or just doesn't have the capacity or whatever, then you're stuck with pretty much one thing,
approach.
and that's it.
Well,
one size fits all. And so,
the other
that's one of the appeals, though, of doing either home-based charter school or doing homeschool is you can more customize something to fit your kids' needs.
Right.
But the problem is there's too much.
Yeah, but also the thing is about the whole, hey, there's all these choices, is it's like good, better, best with a lot of best category. There's so much good stuff. It's almost like you can't go wrong because there's chances are you'll end up with something that's good, better, or better than what they would have, as good as, better, or way better than what they would have gotten in school. So, for example...
well, especially when we experienced that with junior high. We determined we're just not doing junior.
We're not doing that.
The amount of learning that happens, at least in our community, for junior high is almost zero. Literally pulling our kids out and having them do nothing would probably be better.
Just let them sleep during those years. They need more sleep anyway. They're super grouchy if they don't get
let
their
them
sleep.
read one book or something and call it good.
So one year we ran into, and I've mentioned this before, we ran into some serious financial problems due to dishonesty from a business partner. And that just was overwhelming. And it was taking my time and attention elsewhere. And finally, halfway through the school year, I'm like, I am doing an awful job homeschooling the kids. I'm not giving it the time and attention that it deserves.
No. We've only homeschooled a couple of kids. You're talking about home-based charter school.
Yeah, I've done. Yeah, which is kind of the in between.
Right.
And I thought I'm just
just trying to clarify.
I'm really dropping the ball here, and so I was like, I can't be doing this to my kids. Not giving them the best of my attention and giving them the education that I want them to have. And so I think they'd be better off in public school.
And I remember talking about this.
Yeah. And so we finally were like, I hate to do this, but that's what we're going to do. So halfway through the school year, we transferred them into public school so they wouldn't be getting behind. And to my surprise and kind of my disappointment, they were all far ahead from all the students in their class. They became the star student, the best at math, the best at art, the best at everything. My one daughter they had GATE program for the older kids. She was immediately funneled into the GATE program. And I'm like, I was glad, but at the same time I was like, they shouldn't be. I haven't been doing anything. Really, are they really that much ahead? And I've done such a lousy job, really? And so it made me also realize, as I was in public school, a lot of the moms who had gone to this school were touting, hey, the music program. They have this wonderful music program for the school, and the kids play in an orchestra. And I was forced to go to many performances from this school during the time my kids were there. And I had to sit through this school orchestra's their performances, and moms were making huge sacrifices, getting them to school an hour early, several days of the week to practice. It was awful. It was awful. They were playing Mary Had a Little Lamb.
That's not where I thought you were going.
No,
I thought you were going to tell me how amazing it was.
They were playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, only they weren't even doing it well, and they had been practicing all semester. And I was just like, you have got to be kidding. And that was so different from charter school, where when my kids would do music lessons in charter school, it was from a professional teacher and actual piano lessons.
No, we go to
actual
the performances.
And the performances were just incredible.
There were some truly talented people there. Yeah.
Or when my kids take art classes, it's not, okay, now you're going to glue Abraham Lincoln's beard on.
Right,
You traced.
right.
It was actual,
The stuff we frame and put up in our house.
Yeah, where they were actually learning fine art. And so the quality's a lot different, even though you're not spending as much time as they do in the regular public school. The time that you do spend is way more effective because it's just higher quality. Anyway, so you're really not going to go wrong with picking your curriculum. My only advice there is don't overcomplicate things for yourself. Keep a simple schedule.
Right.
Because you can, if you find yourself driving all over town for things and overdoing it.
And you can quickly overdo it.
Or if you're doing school from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m, it's too much. So try to focus on a more simple simple.
But that was our friend. That
Yeah,
wasn't her problem.
but
Her
that
problem.
wasn't her
The problem
problem.
wasn't choosing a curriculum. Her problem was the second roadblock that
The
parents run
second
into.
roadblock.
So the first roadblock is, choosing a curriculum. But
You know
it's
what?
really,
You're not going to go wrong. Do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You'll be fine.
yeah. But the second roadblock, the major problem parents run into when they try to do homeschool or home-based charter school, is figuring out how to motivate the kids to get their work done. Because what happens, and this was your friend, where her daughter was not motivated to do anything. There were no deadlines. There were no teachers. There were no social pressures of classmates. There were no projects due. It was just like, well,
there were no grades. There were no,
there were no deadlines. There was no motivation for her to even get out of her pajamas. And that's what parents run into over and over again, especially those who are new to the game of homeschool or home-based charter schools. They're like, I can't. My kids don't want to do anything.
They don't respect me. They don't listen to me. They're not responding to.
So and that actually is a problem, because they're really unlike the curriculum roadblock, where there's all these curriculums. And you know what? Even if you're doing like home-based charter school, you get assigned an education supervisor. You have an ES who actually helps you craft a curriculum for your kids and follows up every 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Isn't it every 3 weeks?
Yeah, but even they can't help you.
Well, no, but I'm
overcome
saying
the roadblock
with the curriculum, you have
you
all
have all
these
that
tools.
support. You have support.
But when it comes to motivating your kids, there is no support. There are no ready-made, out-of-the-box solutions for motivating your kids to learn or to apply themselves.
Yeah, and it's just a shame, because they have, like, when you're doing the homeschooling, there are all these opportunities for them. And so it's
okay.
it's
I'm going to
just
quit saying
frustrating.
home-based charter school. I'm going to lump that in with homeschooling, even though it's not. But moving forward, I'm just going to call it homeschooling.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
If the mom's the main teacher or the main decision maker,
Fine.
we'll call it
homeschooling, even though we're including home-based charter school in there.
Yeah.
But the idea is that motivating your kids to do their homework outside of the traditional brick and mortar is kind of hard.
Well, yeah. And you know what? It's complicated by the fact that a lot of stay-at-home moms will send their kids to school. And then while their kids are at school, that's usually when they do their shopping. That's when they clean their house. That's when they get all their errands done. And so,
get the kids out of the house so I can clean the house.
So
Absolutely.
with their transitioning over to homeschool, all of a sudden they don't have those hours to go do a bunch of things. And not only that, but the kids are home. And if there are kids home, they're messing up. There are people living there. They're fixing food, or there are people there. The house gets a lot messier than if everybody's gone at school and work all day.
Right, because if you clean something up and everybody's gone, it stays clean.
Right.
But when there are a bunch of kids home, even if there's one kid or two kids home, all of a sudden there's more messes. And when you clean something up, it doesn't stay clean because somebody's going to mess it up.
And then so that the kids aren't getting their schoolwork done, and you have to sit there and babysit them and be like, okay, now answer this question. Now answer that question.
Well,
and you have to walk them.
But if they're fighting you every step of the way, it's just miserable.
Yeah, and then instead of school ending at 3, it's 5, 6 o'clock. You're getting upset. Dinner isn't made. Your husband comes home or your wife comes home, and they look around the house and they're like, what have you been doing all day? And
yes.
You and the kids are mad at each other. The house is a disaster. Nobody learned anything. And it's
and
like,
dinner's late.
I hate homeschooling.
Kind of the opposite.
Everybody's upset. The house is chaotic. This is not what
And no learning took place.
Yeah,
It's
nobody envisions it going this way.
It's kind of the opposite of what you were hoping for.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be this way. It does not need to be this way. But that is an actual, this is not uncommon.
Well, okay.
When you make the transition, these are things that you have to be prepared to deal with and adjust to.
I think, though, if you stick to it, I think most people figure something out eventually.
Yeah.
But But like your friend who was trying to get her daughter to do homeschool,
she's like, I'm getting too angry.
At 3 weeks, she's like, you know what, you're gonna end up. She's gonna end up, living in a box or something because I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing this. No, for my sanity. So
we want to talk today, kind of what we think is a wonderful and easy solution that actually works really well, and that's to adapt Moneypants
to homeschooling.
Yep. And how to use Moneypants with homeschooling, I think, is kind of today's topic. And the neat thing about Moneypants is it's already set up. It's all about rewarding kids for completing daily tasks. That's the idea. It's already built in. Mm-hmm. But it comes with a twist where, you think of rewards and you're thinking, well, I think of like ice cream, but we're talking monetary rewards. But the twist is this is money that you were already spending anyway. Moneypants utilizes the money you were already spending, but instead of just giving your kids things, you're now going to give them opportunities to earn those things that you used to give them for free.
Yeah. So instead of just handouts, you're giving them opportunities.
But it won't cost you a dime more than you were already spending because it's money you were already spending.
Yeah. Well, for example, if you're homeschooling, let's say, hey, I'm going to take the kids to museums and I'm going to, and you're planning like fun field trips. Well, guess what? You're planning on spending money on those field trips. You're planning on maybe stopping at a restaurant, or you're maybe planning on buying souvenirs, or it costs money to get into the zoo. Well, instead, if you're using Moneypants and you know that those are things you want to do, and your kids want to do.
And your kids want to do them.
And your kids want to do them. Then what you do is you put that into Moneypants as things that they can earn as they get their schoolwork done.
Okay, and I'm going to share a tip, though. When you're first starting out, a lot of times the kids don't believe you're going to follow through. Or they don't know how cool the zoo is, or how cool the museum is, or how cool the national park is. And so you may have to give them a freebie to kind of whet their appetite, so to speak. Be like, okay, well, you know what, guys? If you get your homework done, we'll go here. Or you just say, this is going to be the field trip, and there are no strings attached, just to give them a taste of what future field trips will be like. And they're like, oh, Big Trees was awesome. Or the beach was awesome. The tide pools were amazing. And so then the next time, when you set up the reward, now they know what to expect, and they're like, oh, I'm totally getting my homework done.
Field trip. Yeah, I want to go on a field trip.
Field trip means something really cool and exciting. But when you're first starting out, the kids may not know what a field trip entails, and they're like, nah, who cares?
Field trip.
But if they've been on one, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm totally motivated
kind of
now. It's something I want.
That's kind of like last year, I said to Blackstone, I said, hey, Blackstone, do you want to play basketball? And he goes, no. I just like football, because he had played football. He's like, no, I just like football. And so I said, well, let's go to this basketball tryout. You don't have to play basketball if you don't want to, but let's just go to the tryout. And he went to the tryout, and it was, doing all the drills with the other kids and all this. And he came out of there. He goes, I love basketball. I want to play basketball. And then he was excited to earn the money for it.
Right.
But before, he wasn't really sure what it was. So
he didn't know,
so he had to have kind of...
The reward didn't mean anything because he didn't know what he was working towards.
Yeah, he had to kind of try it out a little bit. So yeah, that's a good point. So
But those that actually you can use that as a reward. You can use sports teams or a swim team or whatever as the reward for getting their work done.
Yeah, so a lot of the home-based charter schools, they'll actually pay for a lot of the extracurricular activities. Like they'll pay for dance lessons. They'll pay for the music lessons. And you're like, well, how is that going to work with Moneypants? Well, there's a lot of things that they don't pay for. For example,
costumes.
They don't pay for performances. Yeah. They don't pay, like if you're taking dance, they don't pay for the dance shoes and the uniform.
Or the basketball shoes for basketball or the basketball
and a lot of
itself.
A lot of them do not pay for sports teams. And so one thing I found with homeschooling, and I noticed this the first time I kept my oldest son home, he was having some health problems. And this was before I had really gotten into the charter school thing. But he was having some health problems where he was having insomnia, and we didn't know what was causing it at the time. And so I ended up keeping him home and only him home. And he was a very social guy, very popular in school. He was in second grade and had tons of friends, was, just kind of a cool kid. When I kept him home, after about 3 months, 4 months, he started getting socially awkward. And my husband and I call it the homeschool look.
Your husband?
Oh, you and I, you and I refer to that. Yes, you are my husband. You and I refer to that as
just checking
the homeschool
Make
look.
sure you got the right person. Here.
And where they're like
the homeschool look. Yes.
Yeah, and where they're scared of other people. They're just kind of awkward.
Socially awkward. I hate that look.
They I don't know, their clothes, their hair, they just kind of, it's the homeschool look.
Yeah.
And my husband, or you, as you just said, you in the shirt.
I'm not wearing a shirt.
Wait, yes, you are.
You're right.
I'm not wearing
said, pants.
No, I don't like this. Stop. Let me tell this story. Anyway, you said, this isn't good. This isn't right. And it was at that point that I found, okay, he needed social interaction with other kids his age. He wasn't developing age-appropriate social skills or problem-solving skills.
Right.
And what I found at that point was if you put a child on a sports team where they're having to work with other kids their age and learning teamwork with other kids their age, it normalized them. It got rid of that lack of confidence, social confidence.
That social awkwardness.
Yeah. And it also made it so they weren't lonely, and it kind of satiated that need to socialize. And whereas before they're like, oh, I miss my friends at school, whatever. As soon as you put them on sports teams, they no longer feel that way. They're like, oh yeah, I
they have
see
their
them
social
3
group.
times a week.
Yeah.
After school, I get my schoolwork done. I go play soccer, and and that's enough. Anyway, so and it's great because it counts as their PE, And
right. Well, no, that's why a lot of the charter schools will pay for it, because it satisfies the PE requirement. It depends on your charter school.
California is stupid, so it's just it used to, but California outlawed it or something. So anyway, but the point is, a lot of kids who are homeschooled really look forward to being on teams. And whether it's a dance team, whether it's a sports team, and it's great because it also happens to give them the physical exercise that they need. But it's that social outlet. But most of them are willing, when they're in the situation of homeschool, they're very much willing to save up money to join the team.
Forget willing, they're excited.
Yeah.
They're genuinely excited about
look
that.
Forward to being on a team.
No, Caleb saved up, I think, $450, when he was 11?
Yeah.
To pay maybe $350. It was a huge sum of money. He mowed lawns all summer. Remember that? And he knew, because he knew football was coming up, and he started saving. I think as soon as the football season ended from the previous year, he started saving for the next year. Yeah. And he mowed lawns that summer, and he saved all his money, and because he knew it was coming up, and he was excited about it. And most kids, unless there's something physically wrong, really look forward to the physical interactions and the camaraderie with their peers on some sort of sports team. Maybe it's baseball, maybe it's basketball, maybe it's football, maybe it's soccer, maybe it's swim team. You just got to find that for your kid.
Because that same kid, Caleb, who was so willing to earn the sports when he was 11, when he was younger, he was having health problems. And when we had him in sports, he just wasn't really into it, and he wasn't enjoying it. He was like the last kid running after the ball.
It was torture. He was out there.
It was torture, and it looked like, Anyway, we figured out that he had some food allergies, and
some environmental allergies.
We changed his diet, and overnight he turned into an athlete who was super excited to play sports. So keep in mind, that's a real thing. If your kid has some health issues that are affecting their energy, they're not going to enjoy sports.
A healthy, normal child is meant to run around and play sports
Yes.
and play on the playground and play tag and run around and on the soccer field. That's normal.
So, if you're finding that your kid doesn't want to,
there's probably
you need to look
something off.
into
Yeah.
health issues,
And
because
that's a different topic.
That's kind of a clue there that something's off.
But so let's get back to this though. Using Moneypants as the kind of the mechanism or the way of helping kids achieve those things, those rewards. I think soccer. Let's just take soccer for an example. Your kid has played soccer in the past, and this goes back to the comment I was made before, where maybe your kid doesn't know how much fun it is. You brought up Blackstone, where he didn't know how much fun basketball was.
Yeah.
So you took him and you gave him like a taste, and he's like, oh,
I
love
love it.
basketball. And he had all those other,
I want to play that.
all those, I think it was a social thing though, because all those other kids his age and they were way better than him. And he's like, well, they can do these things with the basketball.
I want to do that.
I want to do that. And he was excited about it. So you need to kind of wet your kid's whistle, so to speak. But once they have or maybe they played in the past, whatever the case, find out what sport it is they're excited about. And we'll just let's say it's Sally. We're going to take Sally. She loves soccer. Here's how it works. This is like a real world example of how you would use Moneypants to help your kid do their schoolwork and to use it in the homeschool situation. Sally loves soccer. It's coming up. She knows it's coming up, and you know it's $150. It used to be you would pay for everything. You'd pay for the registration and the cleats and the soccer ball and all that, and Sally would go play soccer.
And you'd be happy to do it.
Yes,
because it had so many benefits.
Yes,
it was great.
Well, Sally loves it. You love it. It's good across the board. There's health benefits. There's social benefits. It gives her an outlet. All these great things come from soccer. And we're big proponents of sport, of team sports.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, you're like, absolutely, I'll fork over $150 for the registration.
Small price to pay. But we suggest there's a better way. Don't pay for it. Instead, take that $150 and set it aside and let Sally earn it.
Say, Sally, soccer registration's coming up.
And now Sally has the opportunity to earn that $150 herself. And how does she earn it? What does she do? She does her job, which in this case, we'll say it's dishes.
She makes her bed.
She cleans her bedroom. She's a peacemaker. She practices the piano 20 minutes a day, brushes her teeth. And then here we go. She completes her math assignment. She completes her science lesson. She completes her grammar worksheets. She watches a history lecture on great courses. And then, of course, there's other things like getting to bed on time, exercising, and all that. But she gets her schoolwork done, and she gets paid for it. And then it slowly, the amount, slowly trickles into that account. And she watches her piggy bank get filled up until right about the time when that's due, she's got that $150 in her sports and dance piggy bank, and she knows it's for soccer, and she's the one that pays for the registration. And she's the one that pays for the cleats and the soccer ball and the jersey and the shin guards and all the stuff associated with soccer. And some really, really cool things happen. Some really cool things occur. The results are amazing. For instance, first of all, she develops good habits. She develops really good study habits, but she also develops good bedtime habits. She develops good brushing her teeth habits. She develops a good journal writing. All these things that she wants for herself and you want for her.
And you're not having to babysit her on these things. She's the one going, okay, I got to get my math done. Oh, I got to get this done, get that done. And you'll find that they are getting, if they know what their assignments are and they're there for them, they'll be getting them done independently.
Right. And
as quickly as possible.
So that happens in the home on a daily basis, and it's really fun to watch. But then once she's earned that $150, now she's the one that's supposed to spend it. And this is cool. The registration, fine, $75, whatever it is, she pays that. But the soccer cleats and the soccer ball and the jersey, she's the one buying those things. And so she goes to the store, and there's the $75 pair of cleats. There's the $50 pair of cleats. And then there's the sales rack. Guess where she's going? Right to the sales rack, because it's her money, and she understands the value of the money that she earned. Because
it's like you'll find your kids saying, "I'm not spending $75 on cleats.
That's
no
ridiculous.
way, that's ridiculous." Where instead of the opposite situation, I'm like, "Mom, buy me these.
I need the high-end Adidas.
Those ones look stupid."
Mm-hmm. Instead, she's like, "Oh, sales rack for me," and it's really cool.
Yeah, look at all this money I saved.
And she buys maybe she gets a pair of shin guards from a friend or gets from Goodwill or wherever where they're cheaper.
Yep.
But then once she's bought that stuff, guess who's taking care of it? Is mom the one nagging Sally to put her cleats away and put her soccer ball? Heck no. Sally, I've told this story before, but when Falcon first started playing basketball, I think he was 6. And he's just that kid who loves basketball. He's built like a basketball player. He's got a mind for basketball. His favorite color is orange, for crying out loud. And he bought himself a pair of basketball shoes that he had saved up for. And I remember telling him, okay, well, here are the rules for basketball shoes. You never wear them off the court. Meaning they only touch the hardwood. You don't, otherwise you'll ruin them. If you're running around in the grass or on the asphalt or on the cement, you're going to ruin them. You'll lose the traction. Only wear them on the basketball court. And I left it at that. He took that to heart, and he would wear his sandals. He would take his basketball shoes still in the box into the basketball court area, take off his sandals, put his basketball shoes on, do his practice or play his game. And then as soon as that was over, he'd take those shoes off, put them back in the box, and put his sandals on. And as soon as we got home, he would put those shoes up high in his closet.
He still does that.
He was 6. What 6-year-old has that level of commitment and that level of responsibility to take care of their stuff? Oh, that's right.
One who bought their own shoes.
One who bought them himself. He understood the value of those shoes. Anyway, and we say the exact same thing will happen with Sally. She'll be taking good care of her jersey. It won't be wadded up in the laundry basket. No, she's going to make sure it's washed and ready for the game. You don't have to worry about her shin guards getting put away or her soccer ball being put away. And when it comes time to practice, she knows how much she paid for registration to be on the team. She's not going to be there sloughing off. Mm-hmm. She's going to pay extra close attention and listen to what the coach has to say. And it's really cool because she takes care of her stuff. And of course, then there's the corollary to that where mom doesn't have to.
Right.
So there's less
well, and then
stress on mom.
She learned money management skills. She learned shopping skills. She learned
right.
So yeah, having your kid pay soccer, you handing over the money for that's good. But you can, and you get a lot of benefits from that, but you can get even more benefits from it if you allow your child to earn it. Mm-hmm. Then you're just doubling the amount of benefits that you get. So you're leveraging this one thing and really making the most of it for both you and Sally. Because think about it, she developed all these good habits. She's getting a good education. There's less fighting with the homeschooling thing, and she's still getting to play on the sports team, but she's learning a lot of character lessons and taking better care of her health, taking good care of her room, getting dressed in the morning, brushing her teeth. And so it just relieves so much stress from the situation if you have a system like this in place. Now, you can use this idea, this Moneypants idea, without purchasing the app. You can implement the concept. It's just a lot easier to use the app. Because
that's why we made it.
When you were explaining, that's why we made it. It's because we tried doing this for years and years without the app, and we would always say, this would be so much easier if we had an app that did this for us. Because as you were explaining, you're like, hey, soccer's coming up, and you can earn it these ways. And one of the nice things that I love about using the app is it calculates how much money she's going to need to set aside each week in order to pay for soccer if it's on this date. And it also makes sure that the amount that you're paying your kids is reasonable and that it is actually possible for them.
And it's in line with what you were spending.
Yeah. And it's in line with what you're spending. It works with your budget. So it does all the nitty-gritty calculations that, maybe you could do Moneypants with one kid all in your head, but as you have 2 or 3 kids and they're involved in a lot of things,
I don't know, even one kid gets really complicated really fast. It becomes more complicated.
And so it just makes it very easy for your kid to be able to check the app and see, okay, I've got this money here going in this piggy bank, and I've almost got soccer saved up, and I'm getting behind on my,
It does.
And they know what they need to do, and that way you're not having to babysit that and micromanage their budget, and your kid's not anxious. Because before we had the app, remember, our kids would sometimes be anxious about spending their money,
right?
Because they didn't know. They'd be like, I really want to play soccer. So if they got invited with their friends to like go
No,
see
I remember
a movie,
Trixie got invited to see a movie.
Yeah, she did.
And she's like, I can't. I don't know that I'm not going to have enough money for soccer, so I can't.
And I really want to play soccer. And we realized, she doesn't know.
But she definitely had enough money, but she didn't know.
She didn't know how much of it, if she would have enough by the time. And so
by the time soccer occurred, she had enough and to spare. But at the time she was invited to the movie, she hadn't earned all that yet. And so she was like...
she was anxious.
Yeah. And she's like, I can't.
And so when we were...
And so she missed out on an opportunity because she didn't know.
Yeah, when we were working with other families to develop Moneypants, we were kind of doing little beta tester groups to see what we could develop with this that would work for other families, not just our family. That was a problem other people's kids ran into, where they knew they had this responsibility, but then they were scared to spend any of their money on anything else, and because they didn't know if they were going to have enough. And so one of the great things about the app is it takes all that anxiety out.
And does all the calculations.
Yeah, it does all the calculations. So let's say your kid is saving up for soccer and they do get invited to the movies. They can look at the budgeting portion of the app, look at their piggy banks and go, hey, I'm on track for saving up for soccer. I'm not behind at all. And I even have some fun money here in my fun money piggy bank.
I know exactly how much I have too.
I have $15 in my fun money piggy bank I can spend on whatever I want. Yeah, I want to spend it on the movies. So, and they don't have to worry, oh, is this going to make it so I can't play soccer? They don't have to worry about that at all.
So, and then I wanted to go back real quick. You mentioned the benefits of the kids learning money management, especially when it comes to shopping. Something really cool happens. They know they have a finite amount of money. Sally spent $75 on soccer registration. She's got $75 left for the jersey and the ball and the cleats and the shin guards and socks and everything else. She's at the store and there's the $75 cleats, the $50 cleats, the discount rack cleats, et cetera, and something really magical happens. She's there looking at all the prices and then she does this. Mom, what do you think? And it's the coolest thing because instead of you, the parent, nagging them and telling them, oh, you can't afford that. Don't get those. Those are stupid. All of a sudden now the tables have totally turned and now the kid's coming to you for advice and listening and very excited. Like, what is mom going to say? What does mom think? Because, oh, wait, mom does know.
I had to work hard for this money and it's my responsibility.
And I want somebody who probably knows more than I do. And I'll listen to their advice. And it's really cool to watch. And it's very satisfying. Okay. And then there, of course, we kind of mentioned the benefits for the parents. So Sally's earned the money. She's about to play soccer. The benefit for the parent includes, if you're doing this in conjunction with homeschool or with charter school, you get that higher level of satisfaction knowing your kid is getting a good education. And the kids.
You didn't waste your time creating the plan. The plan's being carried out. They're actually getting their work done. That feels really good.
And the kids are getting an excellent education. So there's the satisfaction knowing your kids are learning, but there's also the satisfaction of knowing what they're learning is really good. There's less conflict in the home. Less stress. All of a sudden, as we mentioned, where a lot of the responsibilities that mom had been taking on, or dad in this case, a lot of the responsibilities are now put back on the kid where they belong. Sally should be responsible for her own soccer ball and cleats and her own activity.
For getting her own schoolwork done.
And she should be in charge of her own education.
And her own room cleaned and practicing the piano. These are things that she should be responsible for.
And it's wonderful because, yes, that's exactly right. She should be responsible for those things. And you're teaching her at a young age, this is your lane. This is your responsibility. Yeah. This is your realm. I love that. The home is cleaner. And it's more organized, despite the fact that there are actually more people at home. Mom has less free time during the day because there's all these people home. She can't just leave and go shopping and run errands like she used to when the kids are gone at school. Now, the home is still clean and organized, despite the fact that there are more people living there. And the added bonus, the kids are learning to do the jobs. Yeah. I remember that great comic years ago where there was a guy who'd just started a new job and one of the old employees walks up to him and says, well, as a as a new employee, here's the broom, sweep the floors. And the new employee goes, but I'm a college graduate. And the guy goes, oh, okay, well, then let me show you how to use it. And I remember when I first got to college, and one of the RAs was lamenting that nobody knew how to use a mop. They didn't understand the working end of a broom. And I was thinking, what? How could you not? And then I saw it firsthand, where some people had no idea how to vacuum, how to clean a toilet, how to make a bed. Like they didn't have these basic, and how many people destroyed their laundry because they didn't know what they were doing. And so these are all benefits that your children get.
I had never done my own laundry before college.
Yeah, but your mom was a stickler with the laundry. It wasn't because you didn't know how to work. It's because you were never given the opportunity.
Yeah, because we never that was just never a job I had learned. That was always my mom's job.
But the benefits are huge. And then, of course, the kids, they develop that work ethic, study skills, better health, more confidence. I mean, confidence in their ability to learn. How cool is that? To not have to worry. It removes that fear of study, that fear of my capabilities. Am I going to be able to pass a test? Am I going to be able to do well in school? Am I going to survive in college? Yeah, you're going to be fine because you're developing those study skills. You become more well-rounded. The kids become more well-rounded because they have this. It's the balanced attack with habits. We recommend 10 habits, 2 from each of the 5 categories. Social, emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental. Those are the 5 categories. You have 2 habits in each one. You're going to be well-rounded. And the kids learn these great financial skills. Budgeting, spending, research, shopping. We haven't even talked about that. I call it the eternal principle of shopping, where you learn that the best deal isn't always the first thing that you're presented with. That sometimes you have to go and look around at different places, and maybe you'll come back to that first place and go, oh yeah, that was the best deal. But 9 times out of 10, as soon as you start shopping and looking around, you find, oh no, there's a better deal over here.
See, how many stupid mistakes could you avoid in college if you learn this from the time you were little? How many stupid mistakes do kids make with money and with budgeting?
Oh, yeah.
And with where
they get off to college and they get a credit card.
If you're first married and you haven't really ever done these things before. Whereas if from the time you're little, you're already being introduced to these concepts, you can avoid some really horrific mistakes later on, because these will be no-brainer things to you. I've been doing this since I was 8. I've been doing this since I was 5. I just...
A lot of major financial mistakes can be avoided.
Even if you started later at 17 or 18...
Better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. That's like...
Or 22.
Yeah.
If you're still at home.
Yeah, because a lot of kids are still at home because they're going to the community colleges or whatever, but at some point they have to go off on their own. And how much better would it be to have this responsibility on a smaller scale instead of, okay, you're mom and dad take care of all of this, mom and dad take care of all of this. Okay, you're on your own.
Yeah.
And so it just, this is great because it's a little thing. Moneypants is a little thing, but it's very efficient. It helps you accomplish multiple things all at once. And that's it reminds me of, it's funny that we're doing this because if you've ever read the book, that old book, Cheaper by the Dozen, the dad in that book, he was an efficiency expert and he was obsessed with efficiency and getting things done in the most efficient way. And so we have a large family, and it's funny, just by virtue of having a large family, you become obsessed with, how can I get the most bang for my buck? How can I use the limited time, the limited resources, the limited energy that I have and get the most out of it and do it in the easiest way possible. And so that's kind of what Moneypants is you could put your kids in a budgeting class and you could do all this. Oh yeah, you could, teach them this life skill and help them cultivate this. You could use Moneypants and just kind of get it all done at once. Right.
And it's all carefully integrated.
Yeah.
And it's a simple system that kind of does all of that all at once. The neat thing about it is, the kids, they learn all these life skills, they develop financial skills, and they develop an abundance of personal talents.
Yes. Now that's a huge one, because like if you're doing homeschool, a lot of times it's because you want to do something more than just reading, writing, arithmetic.
Well,
and
no,
history,
especially with the cut
science.
downs in the school budgets. Now that a lot of schools don't even offer art,
They
don't even offer music.
They don't offer these
And
other
it's
things.
really frustrating where it's like, now the kid, okay, I have children who are not going to be doctors or lawyers. And why are they taking these high-level math classes? I actually have children who are incredibly artistic. And in the public school system, that's not even cultivated anymore. It's a huge waste, where I have truly talented and gifted children in some of these areas that are outside the purview of the school. And the school's a waste of time for them, really, where they're focusing all this time on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And it's like,
well, they have a good level of that, but there's just like, they don't need to be taking calculus. They don't need to be, that's just not where.
But also they're literally in the public school system. They're not getting the opportunities to develop the talents that they do have.
I think that's more of the issue is
Well, that's what I
they're
meant.
like, this is all that there is. And in reality,
There are gross limitations. I guess
it's
that's my
limited.
point. Yes.
The education is limited.
Not that it's bad, but that it's so limited.
Yeah. Calculus is good. It's just that nothing else is offered.
But
you know,
calculus isn't for everybody. And that's kind of my point, is like, yes, you should have a basic foundation for all these things of, science and math and English. But beyond that, I really don't think some of my children need calculus, because that's just not going to help them in their lives. Yes, they should know algebra. Yes, they should know these basic math principles. But beyond probably geometry, they don't need it. So why not give them more art classes? Why not give them more sports classes? Why not give them something that's more in line with who they are and what they're going to be doing in the future?
This reminds me of
business classes.
No, this reminds me of a funny story. When I was in 7th grade, I asked my mom to homeschool me because I was starting to get into trouble in 6th grade, and I felt myself. I just wanted to be popular so badly. And I had started going off track, and then I had pulled myself on track, and I'm like, I just can't do this. I need to step back from school. And
how are you that mature in 7th grade?
Well, I was aware that I was the problem. I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to do stupid things, but I knew I could only handle so much, and I knew I needed to step back. So I asked my mom if she would just homeschool me for 1 year, and she agreed. And one of my best friends was like, "Oh, you're homeschooling? I want to do that." And so her mom said, "Okay, you can homeschool." So my mom came up with this awesome curriculum. It was super challenging, and math, science, intensive writing and grammar. And my mom was just worked really hard to gave me this killer.
Very rigorous.
Oh yeah, and just so you know, I was ahead for the rest of high school and into college because of the things I learned in 7th grade, that 1 year from my mom. And she's the reason I aced every grammar section of through high school and college. Anyway, so meanwhile, I'd go over to my friend's house. Her name was Tessa Berberian. Tessa, if you're listening, you can laugh. Anyways, I'd go over to Tessa's house. And she hadn't picked up a math book. She hadn't picked up her history book. No, she was in the kitchen making lasagna. and I'd come over, and she had made a fancy fruit salad, and she was always just cooking things and laying by the pool. She wasn't getting any schoolwork done, and I thought, what a shame. She shouldn't be allowed to homeschool. She's making homeschooling look bad, and she's not going to do well in the state testing. She's not going to be able to get in college. This is going to destroy her future, right? Well, years later, after I got married, we were living in LA. Uh-huh. Tessa Berberian gets in contact with me, and she calls me, and I was so excited she had moved away after that 7th grade year, and we had kind of lost contact with each other. Well, Tessa Berberian, when she called me, guess what she was doing? She was working as a personal chef for a U.S. ambassador, traveling around Europe.
What a loser.
Yeah, what a loser. Guess what she does now?
Is she a chef?
She's the head of a college culinary arts department. What a loser.
What a waste.
What a waste. Anyway, so
that's awesome. But that was kind of my point. I didn't articulate it very well.
Yeah, not everyone is going to be a doctor. Some people are going to be personal chefs for ambassadors.
Thank goodness for them too. I love to eat.
And so Tessa was actually, that's where she really got to develop her talents and her interest in cooking, and she's just taken it and run with it. But for a lot of us, that's one of the reasons that we want to do homeschooling, is because we want to fit in these extracurricular activities. Like I have a daughter who loves acting, and she's taking film acting classes, and she wants to go to auditions, and she wants to do these things. And that's just her. That's not all my kids. That's this one child.
Yep.
Whereas other kids are into singing or cooking or these computer things. Maya, our one son's like really into creating stuff on Maya.
3D modeling.
3D modeling. Anyway, so the great thing is you can incorporate that into Moneypants and set goals within that, where I mentioned my one son I asked him what he wanted to do to develop his talents, and he told me his goal with Maya is he wanted to start earning money. He wanted to get onto Fiverr and start getting clients. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? He's like, well, I need to watch and he's 11. He's like, I need to watch a YouTube tutorial every day. That's what I want to do. I'm like, great, let's put it on Moneypants.
And he does.
And he does it every day. He watches a tutorial and then practices it and improves his skills at 3D modeling. And so, or let's say you're paying for expensive piano lessons or singing lessons, and maybe it's being paid for through the charter school, but this is a huge opportunity. Well, as you know, that opportunity doesn't go very far if your kid isn't doing their practices at home.
Right.
So if you put that on Moneypants, all of a sudden, you go from having to beg your kid to practice to them doing their practicing and doing it consistently and actually progressing at a much faster pace.
Yes.
And so really getting the most of the time and the opportunity they have in the homeschooling environment.
When you can really craft a customized curriculum for each child with Moneypants. It's really easy. All you do is you just figure out what skills they want to develop.
Yeah, and ask them too, and get their feedback and have them decide on these personal.
And then they're excited about it and they're getting rewarded for it. And it's just, it's so much more efficient. And I think that's really what we're all about. I know some people think it's like an allowance app or if it's a home organization app, but it's not. At the end of the day, Moneypants is just about being more efficient with what you already have.
Using your resources.
Your limited time, your limited energy, and your limited money and other resources to maximize the good that you can do in the home. That's real. At the end of the day, we're just efficiency experts. We're not parenting experts. We're not psychology experts. We're actually not experts on a whole lot of anything, but we do think we've really we kind of hit our stride when it comes to being efficient, because we do. We have limited time, limited money, and limited resources,
energy.
and limited energy. And this Moneypants really helps. And so if you find yourself stuck at home with a kid who doesn't want to do the whole homeschooling curriculum, try Moneypants. Just give it a whirl, try it out, and see if maybe some of these tips would help out. And don't be a statistic. Don't be one of those that tried for 3 weeks and threw in the towel, threw their hands up in the air, and went, forget it, I'm sending you back to public school. Maybe there's an opportunity there that Moneypants can help you achieve.
That's all the time we have for today, right?
Yeah. So if you like what we're having to say, if you like the podcast, and if you want to hear us talk about a topic maybe you're curious about or have a question, go to our website, go to, I think it's support, and then contact us and send us an email. And maybe we'll look at what you have to say, and we'll do a future podcast on a topic that you want to hear from. And that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy another song from Falcon Jasper and his Fancy Funky Fortissimo. We'll see you next time.